Jennifer. Action for 2025. Here we go. Whoop whoop.
Yes, ma'am. So today's topics, we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions, the differences between Gen X and Gen Z.
What do you want to talk about?
A lot. Well, okay, so basically from my research, it kind of breaks down into a few different categories, right? So health being the first one. Can you guess what the difference is between your generation and mine? Without reading the board.
I'm gonna be snarky. We're very health conscious and you're not.
Okay, incorrect.
Ouch.
Incorrect.
I said I was gonna be snarky.
But I kind of this made sense to me, but it was that you guys are more physically focused and we're more mentally focused, like mental health versus physical health, which I get.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like we're more like go to therapy and it's like more normal and whatever. Do you guys ever do that?
What? Well, wait. Okay, so I love that. I hadn't thought about that. But no, growing up, there was no conversation on mental health.
That wasn't even a thing. Because I do feel like even when I was growing up, it was like still like you looked at like a crazy person if you wanted to go get therapy. At least my mom thought I was like literally nuts.
I think it was taboo. Remember what that meant? Like on the down low, nobody wanted to admit they were going to therapy. And it started to become more like, people changed the wording of it, like couples coaching. So coaching didn't have a negative tone with it, whereas therapy, it was perceived like something's wrong with you. Right?
See, but in my head, coaching sounds worse.
Really?
I don't know why. Like, I feel like I just always say, like, oh, I go to therapy. I don't say that I go to, like, life coaching. But I guess if it's, like, maybe since it's couples, that's why they say coaching. Or maybe they say coaching to your generation.
Well, you just said life coach.
Yeah, but I don't call it that.
Right. So that
Nobody calls it that.
other than the people who are certified as life coaches.
No, literally. And then that's a therapist. Like, I think that's a different situation then. Oh. But I do also think that people of my generation are trying to get your generation to care more about their mental health.
So what is all encompassing in that, the mental health? Like, I meditate.
Yeah.
Or I envelope yoga in as mind-body connection.
Yes.
So you lump that in as the mental health?
Yes, however, I still feel like people need to go to talk therapy as well. There's certain people that I know would benefit from it, but they're your generation, and they're like, I don't need that. And I'm like, yes, you do. Like, because you're not doing anything about it, and you just start holding in all of this feelings.
So I think that ties back to some of our earlier podcast topics about this generation was out the door, independent, make it happen, you'll find a way, you don't need Google Maps to find the nail salon. Whereas your generation was more supported by a community and more open, to support.
Yeah.
So that aligns.
So no, but I feel like we're trying to get y'all to be more open to that as well. And not be like, you don't have to deal with everything on your own.
I think that's the evolution, because if I look back at the generation before, like, they didn't talk about anything.
Yeah, that's weird.
No health, like, you genetically, if you wanted to know, like, are we predisposed to diabetes or heart, issues or that would have been like pulling teeth to get any kind of personal information from the previous generation, whether that be health, financial, or otherwise, right? So then I feel the Gen X started to push that envelope, the evolution of, hey,
a little.
Yeah, let's talk about that, right? And now, more so than ever, of caring for aging parents, it's like you need an advocate. You need me to know this information to help you.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that the generations that follow, you guys open that even further.
Yeah, I feel like it's like there's no secret to it, but I just guess I thought it was kind of interesting though that would be our like resolution, because like you always hear about people that like their physical whatever they're gonna work out 3 days a week starting January 1st, and it's like okay, but like I don't know what the mental would be, whether it's just like people think they need to take more like mental health days from work or school or whatever, or like something like that, or like just be more open to when you're having a bad day, just let it be a bad day, I guess. I don't know. I didn't get that far.
Yeah, so what does that look like? Is it, because I would be journaling, or, they talk about that, gratitude journals, journal, art, meditation. Or is that self-care of mental health?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's what they're talking about.
I always tried to do that. For like, I'm going to meditate. It's hard. It's hard to get your butt on that chair unless you make it a priority.
I feel like, people always say they're gonna do journaling every single day or whatever, and no.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
It literally lasts like, or they do it like when they're having a really hard time, and then they just never do it again.
But isn't that the nature of these New Year's resolutions?
Yeah. You go to the gym once and then you cry about it afterwards and you never go back. Because everybody's like toppling over each other. But then the next one, financial. There's differences in that.
Resolutions on finances?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
You don't want to guess?
Oh, I have no clue.
Well, pretty much it was that like my generation is more so like wanting to like learn how to invest / invest in like life experiences. So like setting aside that money to go see the world or whatever you want to do, and then also just learning about how to keep a budget. And then of course it's like, how do we buy a house, this and that. Whereas your generation with financial is like prepping for retirement, paying off all your debts, like how can you save more money, that kind of thing.
So we resolve to like start that at the beginning of the year all the time, like this is what our focus is. Is financial over physical and mental. Financial is our big resolve.
This is a different topic.
Oh,
this is just the differences between us.
Okay, so
I'm
jumping ahead. So we focus on career sort of stuff? Well, it would make sense as we're bumping up on that last phase of the career, going into retirement, that would be a logical focus for it.
Well, you have a different perspective now. So, like, do you feel like you need to get to, like, the absolute height of your career before you go to retire?
No.
That's the thing. Like, that was one of the things that it said, like, Gen X does want to do that. And I'm like, but why do you put yourself under way more stress and whatever? But I also get if, like, you weren't smart with your money or you were given a bad hand or whatever. So, like, I can see both sides, but I also am like, why would you want the end of your career to be the worst part?
The most stressful part, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're taking on, like, all the things.
I feel like that was the natural progression in years past, but I feel like the younger generations coming into the career corporate space aren't as, like, hooked on that climbing the ladder. They're more about that work-life balance and happiness, whereas our generation was more about we got to climb the ladder. So from that lens, if we're still holding that thought process, like, oh, we got to that would make sense. But
I just am like, you're so close to the end. Why don't you just like ride it out? Yeah, that's what I would do. I don't know.
And you guys are more about investments and
trying to figure out how to buy a house. Like, I feel like a lot of people's goals in my age group is like, how are we going to figure out how to buy a house? So that probably is a goal. Like, this year, we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically speaking, like, how many of us are actually going to do that? I don't know. There's not even that many houses to buy.
Right. The whole market kind of changed that whole narrative for your generation.
Yeah, so I feel like it's like, my throat is like fricked up, but I feel like it's just hard. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like because our parents did it for the most part, like a while back, when it was, you could do it for 2% interest rates. Like, I feel like my mom specifically doesn't have much input on that, other than I get married first. And I'm like, well, that's not like helping anyone.
I think that whole thing kind of got turned on end. I mean, one, you have the market influences on it, right? You also have inflations in salary, inflations in cost. And we were kind of like, that was the progression that you did. I find that your generation is less interested in the home thing and are open to all sorts of different things.
Like what?
Like renting longer. So I think that's like one, you're being forced into renting longer.
Yeah.
Right? But I know we have talked about this, and I've shared, like, home ownership isn't that all cracked up what it's supposed to be. Yeah. Like, you're constantly maintaining, still paying taxes, even if you don't have a mortgage anymore. And then as we age, it's like, oh, we don't want all this space to take care of, right? So there's a sweet spot, for that. But we digress.
But also, yeah, I feel like, I don't know that I agree with that more people don't want to have homes. I feel like more people just can't afford a home. Because I do feel like there's so many people in my age range that we're all talking about, like, wanting to buy houses, but we can't. Or spending way more than necessary on a starter-upper that you have to, like, fix up.
Yeah.
Fixer-upper.
And it also depends on where you're buying, rural or in the city, right? The prices on that, and then the more. Yeah.
You want to know what I thought was interesting? Not very surprising, but interesting, is that only 9% of people actually do their New Year's resolution. And that the majority that, like, fail, it's within the first couple weeks of the new year.
So from a physical lens, when I used to do personal training, oh God, January 2nd, everybody's coming in and buying memberships at the gym.
No, literally.
And I would always say, and by Valentine's, they're gone. The first box of chocolates show up and they're out of there. So that's what I've always known. So you're saying that your research shows that it's even earlier than that, like within a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm like, that's so sad, kind of.
Well, they talk about this really is, I think an interesting topic is, when did resolutions start?
True. I have no idea.
And we've just passed them on. This is what you do. You have a New Year's resolution, type of a thing. But it would be interesting to find out when and why. Because I know there was a lot of pushback because people are failing on them, right? Like, you shouldn't put that much emphasis on, this is the day that I'm going to, whatever it is, not eat sweets and we're not having alcohol. I'm going to, run 3 miles a day, and you don't even have a walking base in.
No, literally. And that's why they say that, like, nothing lasts, or they aren't lasting. It's because you're setting these goals that are just, like, so far outside of your normal life that you're like, okay, I'm going to run a mile every single day. It's like you don't even walk outside, ever. Mm-hmm. So, like, why do you think you're going to run a mile? Mm-hmm. Or someone saying, like, that runs a mile, saying they're going to do a marathon. Or something. Mm-hmm. Like something crazy. Like, you're not doing that. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like if you are, like, an avid walker, then maybe be like, okay, I'm going to try to run once a week instead of doing the walk. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like,
There's
smaller
There's
goals.
so many books written on this, on goal setting and 10% increments, foundational building blocks on it. And I'm totally in that camp. Like, it doesn't start on January 1st. It can start on any of the days of the year. And the only thing that's going to stick is if it's a priority to you.
Yeah.
And you go at it slowly, but consistent.
But I do think that, like, maybe at the beginning of the year, if we really want to get into New Year's resolutions, that we do set, like, each month there's a goal. Like, just January 1st, you write it all down, and it's like, okay, for January, I'm gonna run once a week. For February, look at me picking my hair. For February, you're running maybe twice a week or something. Or, like, I'm doing one run and one thing of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just slowly, because then you're at least building some level of consistency. Or, like, for January, I'm saving $5 a week.
Mm-hmm.
February, $10 a week. Like, I don't know. Just something like that. Because otherwise it's just too big.
Have you, was your first resolution that you remember doing? And what was it?
I don't think I've ever actually done a resolution.
Whether it's January or, well, January specific, that you haven't done one.
No, I only did those, like, religion ones when you're supposed to give up something for Lent.
Yeah.
I did that.
So you've never done a resolution?
Not really.
Has your friends and peers?
Not really. I feel like people just set, like, goals whenever they feel like they need to.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, whenever they think of something specific. Like, if tomorrow, for some reason, I'm like, okay, I really should start getting in shape, then that would be, like, not my New Year's resolution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel like my generation, they were all in on the January New Year's resolution. And I would get so, like, yeah, see you in February.
Yeah.
And it would fall out. And then the next year, the same individuals would come in with the same goal, and I would just be
It's
like,
always the same goal.
yeah, how'd that work for you last year? What went wrong?
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to start keto. And they do it for 3 weeks, and then they're like, fuck that.
Right.
And then the next year, okay, I really need to lose 20 pounds. Like, let's try keto again. It's like,
see, and I think that's a mindset, is usually when people are setting resolutions, it's a takeaway. It's a negative action.
mm-hmm.
Like, I need to lose weight. I need the negative
Yeah.
side of it, versus I want to feel healthier, and here's how I'm going to measure it.
At least they're coming up with a why, because that was another thing. Like, there's never a why behind I'm doing it. Like, I could say I'm running a mile, but why?
Yeah.
So, like, if I have, which I think it should be positive reasons, like, I want to feel better, not I need to stop being a lazy piece of shit.
Right.
Because those are going to have way different mindsets in your little noggin.
Mm-hmm.
And one you're going to listen to and one you're not.
Mm-hmm. And then do the resolutions bring in an accountability person? Or are they usually, like, secret resolutions? Like, I'm not telling anybody and I'm just going to try and do it, so then I don't have the pressure on myself?
No, literally. I feel like it's probably 50-50. Because I feel like, let's say that, like, me and my partner, like, we decided we're both going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we could hold each other accountable, but it has to be, like, very similar goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're both going to the gym or something.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, if it was, like, some secret little thing I had in my head where I'm like, well, I should do this, but do I need to tell people? Because then they'll be disappointed if I stop or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then I feel like you just, like,
I feel
that's
for
what it is.
I feel for, like, every perspective that I have, I could make an argument for the opposite perspective.
Yeah.
You know, because there was that old school, like, if I had a goal, I was supposed to tell somebody. Then it's out there, and in essence, I'm bullying myself into ensuring that I'm done because I have to stand behind my word.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole other thing of, don't put it out there, because you're going to set yourself up for failure, and now you're going to double punish yourself.
Yeah. And I do think that other people always are going to have an opinion. So it's like you have to be ready to want to hear their opinion if you put it out in public. Because whether you ask for their opinion or not, they're going to tell you. Like, oh, so you stopped doing that. oh, so you're spending this much money. Interesting. Like, even if they're not, like, straight up being like, you fucked up, like, they're still saying something. So it's like, are you ready for that, too?
Yeah.
Because that's why I do feel like people keep secrets.
And if you're saying only 9% of the people complete the resolution.
Literally, by February, we're all just yelling at each other.
We're all just done with it.
Maybe that's why February is the worst month of the year. Dude, February sucks.
I just think everybody's gone on these diets or withdrawn from their substances and they're just all cranky by that point.
No, like, actually, and then the
like,
weather.
Really, can you just have
trash.
some sugar, please? Because you're crabby.
No, literally, like, go take a hot bath. I don't know. Like, something.
Oh, that's funny.
But I also just don't think that people are ready to change when they say they are.
Well, why should a date, January 1st, dictate this change?
I don't know.
Other than it's a line, right? Like, okay, I started here and now you can measure it.
But also, I feel like we're sitting here for the whole month of December planning what we're going to start. So then you're almost going backwards. Like, okay, I'm going to stop eating sweets. So in December, I'm going to eat a fuck ton of sweets and gain 60 pounds. I don't know. But, like, you're literally just pushing yourself backwards by, like, being like, well, if I can't do this in January, I'm going to do it now.
Right.
So it's like you're trying to prepare yourself, but you're not, you're almost making it worse. Yeah. Because the more sweets you eat, the harder it's going to be to stop eating them.
So again, I'm in the camp of I don't need January 1st. I mean, in all honesty, as you're talking and I look at this, we could have punted and made excuse upon excuse, right? From the improv class, like, oh, it's full, we don't have to go, let's kick that down. And keep kicking it down, and then all of a sudden not doing it, right? Yeah. We started this in the middle of the year.
Yeah, literally.
And I feel that if it's like important to you, why wait? Like, start at the lowest level and work your way into a goal.
That's the other thing. I feel like we all need to be like okay with starting somewhere instead of starting at the top. That's just my opinion.
Just starting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the opposite side of that is, at least from my career perspective, it's like, well, let's just start and try, and then we can adjust, right? And then there are other things, though, that the other camp of people is like, you're gonna make so many mistakes along the way because you didn't think far enough out.
Yeah.
So again, I can make the case, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Start incrementally, and then...
But also I think that, I mean, at least I learned the best from mistakes that I need to fix in my industry. Like, if I'm gonna make a mistake, then I also need to know how to fix it. So I feel like that's when you're learning the most. Because then you're also learning how to avoid the mistake. Fix it if it comes up. If somebody walks in with that mistake from somebody else, I can still fix it, and that's gonna give me more value than the next person.
Right.
So I feel like you almost want to make mistakes.
And you want to learn continuous and quickly.
Yeah, like I feel like maybe we just need to like not give up so easily.
What do you think causes people to give up so easily?
I was gonna say something mean. I don't want to say that. I think people are just scared of failure, honestly.
Or did they set too big of goals, so then it's overwhelming and they just quit?
Potentially, but I think people really just don't want to fail. Like, or just avoid. I feel like people avoid a lot. Skip around the problem. Like, you can do it. It's like, girl, just do it.
Yeah.
I think my new phrase is, it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
I've been saying that a lot. Like, so many of the things that people complain about, I'm just like, it's not that hard.
Well, when you boil it right down to it, just boil it down, make it the first simple step, and it isn't that hard.
Exactly.
You kind of freak yourself out like it's overwhelming, and then you just get analysis paralysis and not starting. So that makes sense.
Or that's why people are like, it's too hard to fix the issue. So that's why they're doing the avoidance thing. But it's like, you need to just take a second and then go. Like, I feel like people are just like all the time. And you're not taking a second to just like sit and think for like 3 seconds.
I think it's really interesting that you brought out the people don't have a why.
Mm-hmm.
So that thinking is like the why. That's really the reflection of why do I want to change something?
Yeah.
And is it a priority? I got this somewhere, and I think it was really helped as far as we all have 24 hours in the day.
Mm.
So when someone says, as an excuse, I don't have time, right? That's another easy out on these New Year's resolutions. I don't have time to cook meals for myself, or I don't have time. And I picked up on that from somebody brilliantly shared that. I'm like, we all have 24 hours, so just tell me it's not a priority.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, that's the right to the core, right? So drawing that to the why is so important. That's the whole meaning behind it. The why is the importance. And if it's important, you're going to make it a priority. Stop weaking out on it, right?
Yeah. I feel like arguing your point a little is, like, I think people say that I don't have time depending on the other life circumstances. Because somebody could be, I don't know, like working from home, let's say, right? So their lunch break, they're already at home. Or they can throw something in the oven and then they can get it out of the oven. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Versus in a job where you don't actually have scheduled breaks.
Yeah.
Something that's like, well, how am I even supposed to warm up my food to then eat it? Or like, you know what I mean? So I do think it's like circumstantial. Yes, we all have 24 hours and I like that. But I still think that it's like, sometimes you can't even control certain parts of it.
Yeah, I think the message there was that it's not a priority to you.
Yeah.
So in that example was like your career was the priority.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a cost to all of our careers.
Yeah. Whether
that's not taking care of yourself because you're going 100 miles an hour for 8 hours, or you're working 100 hours a week. You're making that choice. You're making that the priority, right?
Yeah.
So then sit back and go, well, wait, let's just be honest. The priority for me is that. Okay, well then you can't do that. Don't say you don't have time.
Yeah.
You're just choosing a different priority.
I don't know. I don't know how to explain why I still don't agree with that. Because I just feel like sometimes, like for my example, what else would I do? Like I genuinely don't want to have another career. But in my career, this is what's necessary. So, like, yes, I'm choosing to do this, but I also, that's just how my industry is.
Well, then you have to reshape, if we're using your thing as an analogy, that you don't have time to cook for yourself. Well, then that would mean that you'd have to do prep work when you're not working so that your meal plan is more healthy choices that are snackable during your busy day versus a sit down lunch, 30 minutes type of thing. So it just means that your priority shifted. So now your approach to both of those has to change. I think was the point. I just thought it was a real interesting thing of, and the other lens too was 24 hours in a day. And if you think about it, you're sleeping 8 hours a day, ideally. That's a third of your life that you're sleeping. And then all of a sudden you look at the 16 hours that you have, we all have. And then how are you spending those? 8 of those working.
Mm-hmm.
So then it really boils down to you have 8 hours for life.
Which is kind of depressing.
So when you think about work and sleep, that's why it zeroed in on for me that it's what's a priority to you.
Mm-hmm.
And get clear about that and focus and then set your goals or your resolutions appropriately, right?
Yeah.
It's about focusing that why. I love that you saw that in that research. The why. It's so important.
Well, I feel like, I can go on about the why forever. But yeah.
So,
what are your new... I'm just kidding.
do you have what... You wanted this kind of topic.
I know. I think I did decide that I do want to figure out some sort of physical activity that makes me feel better. And I need to stretch because my body hurts so bad and I am 24 years old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those are my things. That's what I'm going to start with.
Mm-hmm.
At least starting with stretching.
And this is your first one because I said, have you ever done a resolution? You have not done that.
I told Brett this morning. I was like, for one, I want to get like relatively in shape because I feel like if I do build my muscle, then maybe my body will stop hurting. Mm-hmm. And then chain reaction. That's what I'm thinking. And then I have to go wedding dress shopping in September, so I need to look like as good as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think that, like, in my head, this is what's going to happen, right? I'm going to start with stretching, yoga, whatever, like something that I already do like doing. I just need to make it a priority, even if it's 20 minutes in the morning, whatever, okay? Mm-hmm. It's going to just trickle into more things, and then hopefully my skin gets better, and my headaches get better, and my body isn't so sore.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting small. What about you?
You know, I should have given it thought because I knew you were bringing this topic. I don't have one that I have zeroed in on, other than.
Well, what's your wild ass goal for?
Yeah, I was gonna say, other than the other day, I used to do this for growth. You know, just like putting myself in an uncomfortable situation to grow was my, like, I gotta keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always done a monthly wild ass goal that made me uncomfortable. I'm not sharing what my January one is, but I think I might bring that back. Like each month, something significant that made me.
I think you should write it down too every month, so at the end of the year you can be like, "Oh my god, I did all these things." I have so much hair on my hands.
I did that, and you know, I had a professor that did this, and it's a good idea. That at Christmas, he would have his kids write a goal for the year. And then they'd put it in an envelope. And then the next Christmas, they would unwrap it to see if they achieved it.
I'm surprised you don't make us do something like that, honestly.
It sounded kind of cool, but I was like, well, so what happens if they don't make the goal and it's on Christmas, which is supposed to be a joyful time? I don't know. But I do think if you can, like, monthly put something in an envelope and then at the end of the year reflect back at everything you did, I think that's a great idea.
That's what I was gonna do this year. Maybe that was a resolution. I don't know if that counts. But I was gonna write down, like, something every week that I did that was, like, special or whatever, and I just didn't. I couldn't find a jar, and then I tried to do it on my phone, and if you do it on your phone, you're not physically, like, doing anything special. Because you're on your phone all the time. So I fell off real fast.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's that going back to what you researched, the why, and then what are those incremental steps that you can do to make sure you're going to make it past the January 15th?
Literally.
You're going to be more than that 9% that completed. You're going to be in there, right?
Yes. This year it's going to be 10% because of me.
Yes, it will be.
This podcast is what's making it more than 10%.
Well, it is. We hold each other accountable and sit down and have conversations on issues that matter. So
you gotta do your wild ass goals, and I gotta start with stretching.
And there you have it. So 2025, here we come.
Yes, we all have to go.
If you don't go,
you won't know. Wait, I thought it was if you won't know, you don't go.
That's gonna be her goal.
Figure that shit out. Literally, it doesn't make sense to my brain. I can't get the shoe on either. Bye.